Now, one thing about Bob Iger is that more and more celebrities are beginning to call him out one after the other, and the biggest one of all is Mel Gibson. He is very vocal about everything to do with Disney and their DEI narrative, their DEI agenda, and really, we know that Disney is in the hot seat right now because they're dealing with flop after flop, ratings disaster after ratings disaster, and it really seems like
watch the series and it's just hot garbage. It still has right now on IMDb a 3.7 out of 10. That's like Snow White level bad. It's the worst thing that Disney streaming has ever produced. So these are the reviews on IMDb. You can see here, 52% now giving it a 1 star.
All 6 episodes of Ironheart have officially dropped on Disney+, and the backlash has been swift and overwhelming. What Marvel hoped would be a powerful new chapter in its streaming lineup has turned into one of the most criticized projects in recent memory. Fans across social media and review platforms are voicing frustration over the show's writing, tone, and perceived focus on messaging over storytelling. The negative reception isn't just upsetting viewers. It's triggering alarm bells inside Disney and Marvel Studios.
A lot more to do with Mel Gibson calling out and exposing Disney yet again after the release of Ironheart and really calling out the series in and of itself and how it really, contrasts how a lot of people out there do feel about the show. Now, one thing is for certain is that we know that the only good thing coming out of this series is Mephisto, portrayed by Sacha Baron Cohen. He did a great job there, and that was about it. Everything else aside,
insiders report that Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are in full damage control mode, deeply concerned about how Ironheart's failure could impact upcoming releases like Fantastic Four, which Disney is betting big on to stabilize the shaky future of the MCU. And now, Hollywood figures are starting to speak out, most notably Mel Gibson, who has publicly condemned what he sees as Disney's obsession with agenda-driven content over compelling storytelling. His comments are reigniting a fierce debate about the direction of the MCU and Disney's larger creative vision.
It deserves your attention. Ironheart deserves your attention. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, they are desperate to get people to watch this damn show.
The question now isn't just whether Ironheart failed. It's whether this marks the start of Marvel's collapse. Behind the scenes at Disney and Marvel Studios, there's a growing sense of crisis. The overwhelmingly negative response to Ironheart has left executives scrambling to contain the fallout. According to multiple insiders, Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are deeply frustrated and on edge, aware that the MCU is rapidly losing the cultural relevance and goodwill it once enjoyed. Feige, once hailed as the mastermind of the Marvel empire, is reportedly concerned that Ironheart's failure could damage the perception of Fantastic Four.
Going out there from the media that you are just a racist if you don't like Ironheart. The reason it's getting this backlash, the reason it's getting bad reviews, the reason that fans don't like what they see, it's just because all the damn racists out there, Jay.
A film Marvel is positioning as the next big turning point for the franchise. The stakes couldn't be higher. Fantastic Four is seen internally as the linchpin for Marvel's post-Endgame revival, and any lingering backlash from Ironheart could dampen its receipt before it even hits theaters. Meanwhile, Iger is said to be worried about the broader Disney brand, which has suffered repeated failures across its Marvel, Star Wars, and live-action remake divisions. There's a growing fear that Disney is alienating its core audience by prioritizing ideological messaging over character development and story coherence. With a record of underperforming content and rising competition, the leadership knows they can't afford another misstep.
They have Dominique Thorne, going out there talking about DEI, LGBTQ rights, and how there's no agenda there, and she continues to do so. But the other thing is that they also had Robert Downey Jr., and they had him roll out and really kind of prop the show up and prop the character of Riri Williams up above Tony Stark.
The tension at the top is palpable, and the pressure is mounting. Amid the controversy surrounding Ironheart, actor and filmmaker Mel Gibson has re-entered the public conversation with bold criticisms aimed directly at Disney. Known for his unfiltered opinions, Gibson didn't hold back in condemning what he sees as a deeper issue within the company: the prioritization of corporate agendas like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, over storytelling quality and fan expectations. In a now viral quote, Gibson remarked, "Disney just doesn't get a clue. Ironheart doesn't honor the legacy of Tony Stark. People don't want to be lectured. They want to be entertained. Marvel fans didn't ask for this. They're being handed something that's more about pushing forced identity politics than crafting a compelling narrative."
With Mel Gibson calling out Ironheart in the best way possible. Mel Gibson recently delivered the following in order to expose Disney and Marvel after releasing Ironheart. Well, man, I think when you really examine the nature of the Disney company, they really just don't get a clue. Just look at their Ironheart series. Now, I don't know much about this character, but I do know enough that it doesn't honor the true legacy of one of the most favorite Marvel characters of all time, Iron Man. And you know,
He continued to call out Bob Iger, accusing him of bending to powerful investment groups like BlackRock, which support ESG and DEI initiatives. According to Gibson, shows like Ironheart aren't created to entertain. They're created to check corporate boxes. Gibson also defended critics of the show, emphasizing that opposition to Ironheart is not rooted in racism or sexism, but in audience fatigue with what many perceive as Disney's ideological filter being applied to everything they produce. He pointed out that many fans, including his own friends, are turning away from Marvel, not because of diversity, but because they feel story and character are taking a backseat to messaging. This public rebuke has sparked fresh debate online, with many agreeing that the heart of the issue lies in Disney's storytelling decline, not the race or gender of the characters. Inside Disney and Marvel Studios.
Now, RDJ is also very annoyed with Marvel and Disney after they initially forced him to do PR and become a part of the press tour, since it was built into his contract for Doomsday, with the show promised to be a ratings success if he was involved.
Panic is spreading rapidly following the overwhelmingly negative reception of Ironheart. According to multiple insider reports, both Bob Iger and Kevin Feige are frantic over how this series has performed, especially given its already delayed release and lukewarm internal confidence prior to launch. The stakes couldn't be higher. Marvel's reputation has taken hit after hit in recent years, and Ironheart, originally pitched as a spiritual continuation of Iron Man's legacy, was supposed to be a fresh launchpad for new storytelling directions. Instead, it's become a symbol of what many fans see as everything wrong with the current MCU era: forced messaging, weak writing, and character development that feels unearned. Sources claim Disney executives were het. Ironheart would fly under the radar, a quiet release with minimal promotion, no fanfare, and almost no press. This strategy backfired. Once viewers found all 6 episodes live on Disney+, the backlash erupted organically across YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter X, spreading like wildfire. Worse still, insiders say Iger is increasingly concerned that this failure will negatively affect audience interest in the upcoming Fantastic Four reboot, a project he sees of criticism aimed at Disney and Marvel Studios, offering a blunt and controversial take on the state of the entertainment giant. In a resurfaced quote circulating widely online, Gibson reportedly criticized Ironheart as a symptom of what he sees as a larger, more troubling trend within Disney, prioritizing political narratives over storytelling. He's quoted as saying that Disney doesn't have a clue anymore, and that the Ironheart series fails to honor the legacy of Tony Stark, a character who became a global icon thanks to Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Gibson emphasized that fans aren't tuning out because of race, gender, or representation. They're tuning out because they're tired of being lectured in shows that are supposed to be fun, adventurous, or emotionally compelling. He also accused Bob Iger of pleasing the wrong people, pointing fingers at major investment firms like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, companies often linked in public discourse to corporate pressure around DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and ESG, environmental, social, and governance strategies. Gibson suggested that content like Ironheart is made not to entertain or inspire, but to check boxes and appease corporate interests. While there's debate over the authenticity of Gibson's exact quotes, the sentiment has resonated with many disillusioned fans. Whether or not he actually said every word, the perception that Disney cares more about agendas than art continues to grow. Mel Gibson is not alone. Whether through social media, interviews, or anonymous leaks, a growing number of industry veterans and celebrities are reportedly beginning to push back against what they view as Disney's over-reliance on political themes and agenda-driven storytelling. Some actors and insiders have anonymously voiced concern that Marvel and Disney are losing sight of core storytelling values, chasing corporate trends and activist messaging at the expense of character development, emotional arcs, and fan satisfaction. Others have claimed that shows like Ironheart represent a broader creative crisis at Disney, where projects are greenlit based on ideology rather than audience demand or creative merit. These concerns echo what many longtime Marvel fans have been saying for years, that the balance between representation and entertainment has been broken. While diversity in media is important and often celebrated when done well, the criticism here is about execution and priorities, not the inclusion of new characters or cultures themselves. This growing resistance among Hollywood circles could have major implications. If more well-known names continue speaking up, publicly or behind the scenes, it could push Disney to reconsider its approach, especially as it faces financial pressure from underperforming content and declining fan enthusiasm. At the center of this unfolding crisis is Disney CEO Bob Iger, whose leadership has come under growing scrutiny from fans and financial analysts. Iger, once hailed for expanding Disney's empire with acquisitions like Marvel and Lucasfilm, is now viewed by critics as the key enabler of the company's creative downturn. Insiders and commentators suggest that Iger is no longer prioritizing storytelling or customer engagement. Instead, he's allegedly more focused on appeasing major shareholders like BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, all of whom strongly support ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion policies. The concern from critics like Mel Gibson is that Disney is serving financial and ideological interests over audiences, and that Ironheart is just the latest example of that approach backfiring. It's also worth noting that Iger reportedly plans to step down again in 2026, and many believe he's trying to salvage his legacy before doing so. Fantastic Four has now become his next big bet, possibly the last chance for Marvel Studios to regain momentum and restore goodwill with the fan base. In the eyes of critics, however, it's clear. Ironheart wasn't just a failed show. It's symbolic of a deeper issue within Disney's culture and leadership. And unless changes are made soon, some believe Marvel is heading down the same path as Star Wars. Once beloved, now divisive and fragmented. The failure of Ironheart isn't just a one-off disappointment. It's another red flag in what many fans see as the ongoing decline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Once a cultural juggernaut, the MCU now finds itself in a precarious place, with audiences no longer showing the same enthusiasm or trust they once had. Series like Ironheart are no longer being judged solely by entertainment value. They're being examined for ideological messaging, writing quality, and brand integrity. As Mel Gibson and others have pointed out, this backlash isn't about race or gender. It's about audiences being tired of content that feels agenda first, story second. Want compelling characters, strong writing, and captivating storytelling. When those fundamentals are missing, and replaced with what critics call forced narratives, fans begin to disengage, and it's happening more often with each new release. There's still hope for the MCU to rebound. Films like Blade and the upcoming Fantastic Four could potentially reverse the tide, but only if Marvel and Disney truly listen to their fan base, ditch the performative politics, and return to their core creative values. Until then, viewers and critics alike remain cautious, and the growing chorus of celebrity voices calling out Disney's direction may be impossible to ignore for much longer.